of lessons learned. And I just need to take a moment to thank all of you because this church especially donated a lot of money to the cause. I thank you for your donations, your prayers, your words of encouragement all along the way. And I'm so happy that all of you want to hear about it now today. So give yourselves a round of applause real quick because this is all because of you guys. So I had a lot of expectations going into this trip. I have a friend, Mason, who is a long-term missionary in Zambia, Africa. And he tells me stories of what his experiences are like. And he's there for 6 months at a time and then comes home for a couple months and goes back. So he is there day in and day out. He's in a very remote area. And immediately I kind of get the impression that that's what my trip is going to be a little bit like. But I have to tell you, my expectations are so wrong. First off, our trip is only a 2-week trip. We're short-term missionaries. We have the goal to evangelize, we have the goal to spread the word of God, but we're not there very long. So we're also kind of more like a support system to long-term missionaries that are there. But nonetheless, I know this. We have meetings about this with our team going into it, where they're telling us, you have to know, there's a lot that could happen, there's a lot that couldn't happen. We don't necessarily know what's going to happen. I disregard that completely, and I'm going in guns a-blazing, and I'm so excited and so pumped for this trip. And I'm thinking, man, we're going to go in, and we're going to be exploring the jungle, and it's going to be this awesome thing where we're bringing Christ to these people who have never even heard of him, and it's going to be this awesome thing, and we're going to be like heroes. Let's go, guys. And that's not at all what it was like, and shows a little bit of my ego. So don't be like me if you ever get the opportunity to be like this and go on a trip like this. It's not that much on you. I certainly was not the hero in this situation. So when I actually did get to Guatemala, we flew in from Houston. And then when we got there, we're flying over, and I can see that it is this area that it is dense with forest. And not necessarily like rainforest like I envisioned, but it's forest, and there's these huge mountains. It's just one after another with big rivers going in between it. And I'm thinking, there's not any people anywhere. I don't see towns, I don't see houses, I don't see anything, no villages. Finally, we're about to land, and I see Guatemala City, which is where we would be staying. And it's completely different than what I thought too, because I'm envisioning people in huts kind of deal, like my friend Mason tells me about in Africa. It's not like that at all. Guatemala City, I would compare to a little bit like a Harrisburg, so completely different vibe. There are bigger parts to the city where there's actual skyscrapers and hotels. Where we stayed, we were treated very well because of the organizations we go with. They make sure you're treated well and that you're safe and all of that. But it's also a very condensed, populated area, and it's more than just the city. There's also kind of the suburb to it, and then the outskirts, and the outskirts go the whole way up the mountains. And where there's a really dense populated area with the skyscrapers and the hotels and all that, it sprawls out quick to where all of a sudden it's more like cinder block homes with tin roofs, and there's a lot of people, and there is poverty like I expected, maybe not in the way I expected or in the amount I expected, but there certainly is poverty. It's just a little bit more spread out, I would say. But I'm ready, we're excited to go. The first day we get there about middle of the day, take the day to rest, and the next day, because we're a wrestling team, the organization we're going with is called Athletes in Action. And what it does is it takes you to locations where you pretty much get to do your sport a little bit while doing your missions work. And that's kind of your field or your catalyst to the actual mission. So we go in there and we go to a wrestling practice the first morning, and immediately I kind of realize I'm up against it because I don't speak a lick of Spanish. And there's 5 other countries' teams there practicing with us. And I can't even talk to my practice partner about what I'm trying to do. We have translators with us. We have about 4 of them. 3 of them are guys that were with another organization that joined up with us there. And the other one is one of my teammates, Chris, who was actually born in Guatemala and then ended up moving. And he speaks perfect Spanish, speaks it very well. So he was kind of my own personal translator, I like to call him. He helped me out a lot with that. But the next day is when we first start getting into our real missions work, where we're actually going and doing things I would consider mission work. It's not just wrestling practice. It's not just meeting people. And the first day is we're going to a school. This school is located kind of out of the city and more into the cinder block home type of area. And we're driving through it. You drive on buses there. Driving there is a nightmare every time. I was never so scared to drive in my life because there's not really traffic laws. There's so many people and they're driving everywhere and they're driving all kinds of vehicles. But there's no laws. You're just merging into lanes, hoping you don't get hit. And people there must be pretty good drivers because I didn't see a single accident, even though it's just absolute chaos everywhere. So we're making this about hour and a half drive to go about probably 10 miles or something like that through this town. And finally we get to it, and it is on the top of a mountain. It's this tiny little schoolhouse. It also is just cinder block. It has a very big yard out around it, but it is literally on top of this mountain. It's at 6,000 feet elevation. It is a hot, humid day. It's about 110 degrees. I'm dying. I know everyone around us is dying, but we're all really excited because we're just getting started off with our trip. So we go in and there's all these different kids of all age groups, and they're all there's teenagers that we started out with. And with them, we're kind of taking the opportunity to share our testimonies through our translators. We get to describe what we do a little bit because they all realize they have these shirts on that say the same things on even though they can't read it. So we describe that we're a wrestling team. We're there together. We're wrestling in a tournament in 2 weeks. We're practicing with national teams. But we're also, again, sharing our testimonies. So me and a couple of my teammates got the chance to tell them some of our stories, kind of how we came to Christ and how Jesus has affected our lives and what we do now, and kind of share the goodness there. And the teenagers, they take it very well. They're very attentive. The teachers are making sure that they're engaging a little bit, and it's going really well. Then we move down to the middle schoolers, and the middle schoolers are kind of the same way, but they're a little bit more, I'll say, hands-on, for the sake of argument. What they would do is we would tell them yeah, we're wrestlers, and we'd start sharing our stories, and then they would somehow loop back to the fact that, wait, you guys are wrestlers? Wrestle me now. And it led to me getting taken down. I would like to brag for a second. Say I didn't get taken down at all the first day of practice, but then in that I got taken down probably 30 times by all these different middle schoolers, just dogpiling me for an hour. And it was awesome. They were loving it. And it was great because they got this opportunity that we could actually share our faith and build relationships with them and not just it's us going there preaching and then leaving. It was awesome. So then we took time for lunch, got to relax a little bit. And then the afternoon, it's now sweltering hot. I don't know how hot it was, but I was dying. Everyone's starting to get a little tired that day because it is hot and we all don't have water. We're very limited on the food we're eating because you can't eat a lot there. You might get food poisoning. And here comes the last batch of kids that we're meeting with. And it is this huge group, except they're all about 5 to 9 years old, I would say. They're all very little. They're all rambunctious. Telling our testimony to them is a nightmare because they do not want to sit and listen to you talk or listen to the translator talk for you. So what we're doing there more so was they're we want you guys to go and just play with them. There's a playground. There's this huge soccer pitch there. And they're saying, go and have fun with these kids and share your testimonies with them. The older kids engage with them a lot so they can kind of spread your story a little bit, spread the gospel a little bit through it. It's a little bit indirect, but go have fun with these kids. And for the next 4 hours, we played with these kids. And that's when I started to realize that we're at this school. There's all these different kids here. There's a unique situation going on. And as I'm playing with these kids, through Chris, I'm talking to this one little boy. His name's Jose. He's 5 years old. And he's adorable. He's about, yay high. And he is just running laps around me all day. But he's talkative, and he's very kind. And he's telling me, well, yeah, we're all here. None of us have parents. There's probably, I don't know, I had to have met at least 60 kids that day. None of them have parents, or at least a full set of parents. So the school that is there on top of that mountain is a Christian-run school. It's a Protestant Christian school, ran by one of the long-term missionaries that's located in Guatemala. That's actually a local Guatemalan person. It's not someone coming from the U.S. or another country to Guatemala and setting up a school. It is someone from Guatemala who is a professing Christian and as a pastor there, saying we need to do something about these kids. And that's when I learned that Guatemala has this huge rate of homelessness and children on the street and children without the opportunities to go to school and to do sports and to do all the things that most kids would get to do and almost need to do to have social interaction and to grow up properly and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, I'm really hurt because I realized I'm talking to all these teenage kids today about all the struggles I've had in life and how Jesus has fixed them. And not to discount those things, but I realize that those kids are hearing that and probably laughing at me because I haven't gone through anything near as hard as what those kids have. Those kids, most likely, the common theme from what I've found talking to people was that a lot of the homeless rate in Guatemala is because of moms and dads. They find out they're going to have a kid and the dads are gone. So now the mom is left with a decision. They can either put them up for adoption, they can try to raise the kid, they're probably going to be homeless because they can't then go work because they're raising the kid, or they can find a way to do away with the kid, to put that bluntly. So these kids are all in a situation where now they're in this school, they have friends, they're given an opportunity to learn about God, to learn the gospel. And let me tell you, they probably have a greater faith than I do, these 5-year-old kids. And how I kind of figured that out is I'm still playing with Jose, me and Chris are. And Jose is climbing the monkey bars on this playground. And I'm climbing them with him, and I'm showing him all the cool tricks you can do because I'm almost 20 years old. And I can do those things like really easy. And then he's doing them with me too. And I'm just thinking, there's not a lot of 5-year-olds I know at home that can, be hanging upside down and walking backwards and all this stuff on them. But he's doing this, and all of a sudden, he slips, he falls, he's hanging upside down, he slips, he falls, head first on a rock. I mean, hard. And he was high up. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh no, this kid he probably cracked his head open, and I'm there like, dude, are you okay? Like trying to make sure everything's good. And he hops up, laughs at me, and then runs off. And it hit me. These kids don't have anything. But when you have nothing, there's a whole lot to go around, right? They're so happy just to be playing on the playground. They're so happy that they have all these guys here that are just playing with them that day. They don't get that normally. There's a lot of kids in Guatemala that they don't get the opportunities to just have a normal childhood. And I wouldn't say theirs is normal by any means, but they're at least getting the opportunity to go to school and to have those friends and all of that and to hear about Christ. And it hurt me a little bit because I realized how ungrateful am I for all the different things in my life, the small inconveniences. And there's this kid who just fell and his head's bleeding. Like he hurt himself pretty bad. He doesn't have parents. He's at this school on top of a mountain on this crazy hot day, running around in circles like crazy. He doesn't have any food or water with him. And he's so happy. And we asked them, like, how are you guys just like so energetic and so happy? And they're like, well, look what we get to do. We're here playing. Like, this is awesome. There's kids that they're on the street with their moms begging right now. And I remember I went back to my room that night and I cried for probably an hour just thinking about that. These kids have an amazing faith. I like to think that, as a missionary, you're bringing Christ to people. And we're telling our stories to people that hopefully the ones that haven't heard it yet, and hopefully the ones that have heard it, it's impacting them in a positive way. But these are kids that they're almost further off along than I am, and they're in such a worse situation. And I think that showed me true faith, is to be content with just having God in your life and having the simple things that He provides for you, right? That was important to me, and it impacted me a lot on the rest of the trip. I couldn't stop thinking about that, and I haven't stopped thinking about that kid all summer. So then we left the school that night, and we went home, and for the rest of that week, we were kind of on this off and on stage of like, we would go and meet with people out in the streets of Guatemala City, and we would go to our practices. So now it's just this phase of like, we are interacting with everyone. A lot of what we do is we go to these different stores and stuff, restaurants, all that, and you just sit down, you say hi, you make sure you introduce yourself to anyone. Like I grew this great relationship where I would talk to him every morning for probably half an hour with a guy that worked in our hotel on like the breakfast pretty much. I would talk to him every morning and eventually started asking like, why are you guys here? Like, are you just another one of these missionary groups, all this stuff? And he's telling me like he doesn't have a true faith or background yet in an actual relationship with Jesus. Guatemala City has a lot of churches in it. They're mostly Catholic churches. So a lot of what people believe is Christianity there is this like really, really like strict form of legalism where they're more bent on the rules and doing these traditions and stuff like that. There's not as many people that actually have a relationship with Jesus. And that's something that I kind of realize as they go. And so you ask them, like, the way we ask it is, do you have a relationship with Christ? And they're like, maybe? Like, yeah, I'm in church, but maybe I have a relationship with Christ. But anyways, we're going through this phase of we're meeting people. And at this point, I'm feeling still pretty good. I'm still pretty, like, up on my high horse about I'm the missionary here, and I'm the hero to all these people. And I'm bringing it, and I'm getting to the point where I'm like, God, just keep using me. Like, I love this. I feel awesome doing this. And then one night we went to a store, it was the only other restaurant we eat from besides the one we would go to every day. And I ate these 3 taco-ish style dishes, and the next morning I woke up and I felt horrible. And I mean horrible as in not the sense I had to go to the bathroom. I remember telling my coach, like, I can't go to practice today. Like, I don't feel very good. I think I'm just going to sit in bed. And I remember climbing into bed, and that's the last thing I remembered for like 24 hours. I woke up the next morning. I had no idea what would happen. Apparently, my roommate said I was awake for actually most of the day, and I just had no recollection of it. I woke up. I have about 6 blankets piled on top of me, and I had this full loaf of bread laying on top of me, still in the package, half eaten. And I was like, guys, what the heck happened? And they're like, well, all day yesterday you would complain that you were cold and that you needed more blankets. So we would run and get another blanket from you until they're piled up on top of you like they are now. And then at night our coach came and said, are you hungry? You said, yeah. And he's like, okay, I'll get you bread or something dry that's not going to upset your stomach. And apparently I ate it and then just fell asleep with it laying on my chest. So that was a very humbling experience for me. I don't feel like the hero right now. I feel like I'm the one that everyone's taking care of. And through that, it just made me realize that I'm not necessarily I'm not the one that this is all about. I'm not the one that's the going and doing the actual ministry. I'm there and I'm one of the people on this mission. But I'm not God doesn't necessarily need me to be doing this. He's using all of us and he uses everyone, I think, to spread his word, but he didn't necessarily need just me. I'm not Moses or something in this case. I'm not that important. And maybe that sounds a little degrading to say to myself, but it's true. God didn't need me, but he's using me in other circumstances, right? So the next day when I woke up, that was the day we got to take another 2-hour-long bus ride to go to another city called Antigua. And Antigua is this really, really old city. It was made in the 1400s by Spaniards who came over and first toured Guatemala pretty much. And it still has a lot of the original housing, a lot of the original buildings. There's a church there that was built in 1452, I believe they said. So very, really old community, traditional community, and huge market through it. I mean good 3-mile long square market. And that was a great opportunity because we got to go in there and we would kind of get the chance to, go through whatever, buy a cool shirt or something like that. But through that, they're all asking hey, you don't look like another Guatemalan person. What are you doing here? What's going on? And you kind of get to do this fun system of bartering with them, but not really, because all of them, there's no set prices. If you want to buy something, they're going to highball you a good 500 quetzales, which is their unit of measurement for money, and they're going to highball you a ton, and then you're going to talk it down to like what's an actual price. But through that, then conversation just starts, and you'll spend like an hour talking to one person about why you're there then. And a lot of times it ends up and you get to pray with someone or something like that. And it's a really cool experience, and it's really impactful. So we do that, and then that night we're going to the restaurant we normally eat at, and I see a woman that's sitting there, and she's homeless. I had seen her earlier in the week. She was there once, and a couple of us gave her like a little bit of money type of thing. But this time we all were really convicted because like our time's starting to dwindle out. We don't have too many more like fully mission field things we're gonna go do. Like we go and meet with people every day, but this is our last day of like actually going off to somewhere else and doing something. So we all feel really convicted. We all ended up pitching in around $20 and giving it to this lady. There was a good group of us. And we had Chris go and talk to her, and it was a really hard thing to watch because Chris is pretty much bawling because she's sitting there. She has her little son beside her that's probably 5 years old or less. And she's crying, and we tell her like, hey, listen, we're going to be gone soon, but there's a church like right here, an actual Protestant church that we had attended earlier in the week. We said, please go to this church. They'll help you, and they're going to show you about this Jesus that we know really well. We found out later that she did end up going, and she's consistently gone, which is a huge praise. But what was scary was there was one person we got to help there, but there was so many other people. Like the homeless rate in Guatemala was insane. And that was humbling coming back. I couldn't stop thinking that there is such a need for people there, for everywhere, for physical needs and for spiritual needs. People don't necessarily know Christ there, but there's also people that are just on the streets and they're not living right. But as I got home, I realized like, what am I doing now? Like those people are still there, and there's missionaries there helping them on long term, but I can't help them anymore. But there's people here too. There's people everywhere throughout the world that need to hear about the love Christ has for them. There's people everywhere with physical needs. So what I kind of decided and came to the realization after my trip as I got back is that ministry needs to continue anywhere we are, right? And that doesn't just go for me. That goes for all of us. We're all in some capacity called to be ministers. So there's 3 easy ways that we can kind of make that happen. They're not super like awkward or anything like that. You don't have to like overstep too much. But it helps spread the gospel really quickly and really effectively if done right. So the first one I pulled from Matthew 5:13. This is the passage in the book of Matthew where it says, I want you to be the salt of the earth and keep your saltiness, because if salt loses its saltiness, how can it be used for anything anymore? My first point is we as believers, here or in Guatemala or in some other part of the world, we need to live out our faith. What it's saying, Jesus is saying here when he says be the salt and keep your saltiness, he's saying you need to actually live out your faith, because people see when you're different. People notice if you're loving people to a greater standard and including the least of these. And that leads to questions, and that leads to kind of this like process of where they consider like there's truth to what they're saying, right? The second one, just be with people. You don't have to go on a missions trip to the other side of the world to help someone, because you are all placed in some mission field, whether you realize it or not. All of us have jobs, all of us have families, all of us have friends. That's your mission field. You know, God gives spiritual gifts to all of us, and there's things we enjoy and there's things we're good at and there's things we get to do. For me, it was always wrestling. I got to minister to people through wrestling because there's so many people around me, and it's such a hard sport that when my faith stands out a little bit in the sport, people start asking, right? And the last one, I just want you to consider that all the while, it's not necessarily us that's doing it. It's not us necessarily that is causing the gospel to be spread. Ultimately, God uses us. and he has intention for us. But at the same time, he is the one that is actually changing people's hearts. He's the one that's reaching people, and he has a great plan that we can't understand that does that. But be ready to be an instrument for that. Don't take it upon yourself and stress yourself out saying, I need to just talk to everyone. Because the reality of it is there is a need for so many people everywhere. But if you can help just one person, if you can truly influence just one person, that person can influence so many more. And the gospel can spread on and so forth if people just keep influencing one other person. So that being said, I'd like to close us all in prayer. Lord, we thank you for this day. I thank you for this group that's gathered here before me this morning. Lord, I just thank you for the trip. I thank you for all the support going into the trip. I just thank you for the opportunities that you give us to serve others. I thank you for the example you set through your son, Jesus. And Lord, I just pray that this is something that would be on all of our hearts, because you call us all to ministry in some sense. We don't all have to be pastors. We don't all have to be missionaries. But Lord, you tell us to live out our faith and to bring other believers to church. You tell us to make other believers. Lord, I charge everyone here today, including myself, to go out and live that out now, and that you would be on our hearts, and that you would just use us and give us the wisdom and the direction to use us properly, Lord. It's in your name we pray. Amen.